Well, the concept of European values is actually a bit, slightly uncomfortable for me as a non-Western person who has been working really hard to not only to analyze democracy, but also to advance democracy in Japan and in Asia by advocating for it and also supporting human rights defenders and democracy advocates. The reason is because if a European says EU values about democracy, human rights, or rule of law to me, then as a non-Western person, I would feel like, okay, so you are saying that, well, those values are your values and not mine. But actually, I have been really placing so much importance on it, and I've been also working with a big number of civil society partners in the entire Asian region who are advocating for it. Well, these values like democracy, rule of law, and human rights are all so important. So we won't be able to prioritize one after another. But I think in the core of all these values, the important part resides is the liberalism. This is especially the case because a lot of authoritarian countries these days are trying to arbitrarily change the conception of some of these liberal conceptions, which include democracy, rule of law, human rights, and elections, by removing this liberal aspect. For example, if China when China claims that they are the democracy, not the United States, well, they often claim this way. When they do so, they claim that the Chinese government better reflects people's opinion in their policies. But the reality is that they oppress criticisms against the government, and they also oppress the voices from minority groups. And only those voices that are in line with the government actually appears on the surface. So this is why they claim that there's a resonance between governmental policies and people's opinion. But this is actually not based on the liberalism that places importance on people's freedom of speech and media freedom. And so we really have to value the liberal part. Well, I actually do not really buy the argument that Asian values are different from others. We have to be attentive that whatever discourse that appears on the surface are a reflection of the power structure embedded in the society. And in the case of Asia, we have diverse regime types, but there's only a small number of liberal democracies in the region, which is Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. And even those relatively new democracies like Indonesia, Philippines, and East Timor exist. Except for East Timor, they are suffering from populism. India is also the case, and Thailand has been still controlled by the government, which was taken over by coup in 2015. So, this means that the real voice is hard to hear in those societies because repression is going on. And yet, if you look at if you actually talk to the civil society members one by one, then you get to know that they really hope to have better protection of their human rights, freedom, and they really want to have democracy. And that kind of seeing can be seen only when there's some outrageous thing happens. So Myanmar's coup in 2021 was a really good case where we saw that there's this vast majority of the people who are actually wanting to have democracy going on. And so I think we have to be aware that both in Asia and Europe, we do believe in civil liberties in addition to social rights and minority rights. The role of the European Union has never been this important before. Europe has been always the most important agenda setter in the world in terms of norms. And European power for that is needed much more now. This is because I believe that the democratic institutions that are now deteriorated in the entire world is first attacked by the weakened value systems or norm commitment to democracy, which has been actually surrounding those democratic institutions and protecting the democratic institutions. And so in the United States and in other countries, in democratic countries, there has been this rise of populism, which has been attacking the democratic norm commitments. And so we need the voice, very clear voice, supporting liberal democracy, supporting human rights, and the rule of law. And we do have to have a vast number of people and actors doing that, but leadership is needed. And there's no better leadership than EU.